Who are you looking at? Hey everybody, it's Trey from the bicycle station.
And Chase from the bicycle station.
And I have a Mog. Does it look familiar? Jesse who can't talk? He's shaking his head yes. This is Jesse's old Mog, now my Mog, and I have it, I think because Jesse didn't like it.
I would say that's accurate. My Mog is currently in pieces, so it's not up here.
But we have one because we're doing a Mog review today. So you saw our build video of this bike and you can see this bike. And if you think it's cool or like any of the parts on it, go to thebicyclestation.com and order some of that XXSL and some Schwalbe Thunderbirds.
Berg bar tape.
Berg bar tape, all the goods. So I've ridden this bike probably the most out of the three of us. Why'd you point at Chase?
Because
Do you think she's ridden it more?
I might be winning it on the rides. How many times did you ride it?
A lot.
She raced it in 200-mile races.
I raced it in a 100-mile race.
Which one equals do math?
Okay, I want to be clear. On one of my races, I made it like 28 miles before I got a big slice. But it was the Maxxis.
That is all I need to know.
Ramblers. It was the Ramblers.
They don't be Ramblers.
Why are you in my face?
Reavers.
Oh, it was the Reavers. Never mind.
I kind of have positive things to say about this bike. I think Chase didn't like it that much.
Trey doesn't know. I actually really liked this bike.
Oh, I thought you didn't for some reason.
No, I actually have there's a couple things that I don't like, but overall I had very positive reviews on this bike.
It has a
Several.
door hatch. Did you like that, Chase?
Okay, so if you've watched any previous videos of me in it, you would know I am a known door hater. I hate internal frame storage. I got to really use the frame storage, get all up close and personal with it, I guess, during Unbound when I flatted, and I actually didn't hate it.
It's convenient, isn't it?
It was easy to open up, pull out my bag.
That's not a bag. That's just
There's no bag in there right now.
I don't have the bag.
It was like nice and easy to pull out the bag. I actually really liked the frame storage on this one. The bag that it comes with, it fits in there great. I felt like I wasn't like having to jam anything in there. Like it was just easy to use, honestly. So
What else did you like about this bike?
Tire clearance.
Because it can fit 2.1 Schwalbe Thunderbirds with plenty of room. There's like so much room. Yeah, get all the angles. There's very few bikes still that come with enough clearance to run mountain bike tires, and bike companies are still releasing bikes now that can't fit mountain bike tires in their gravel bikes, and I don't understand why. Like every gravel bike should be able to fit at least like 2.0/50 mil tires. Otherwise, I just don't want to ride it. Mountain bike tires are cool.
That's honestly one of the reasons why, like for Unbound, I chose this bike because we weren't sure how muddy it would be, and like the tire clearance was a big perk for me.
Yeah.
It's kind of a deciding factor on like choosing to race this bike at like Mid-South, Unbound, some of those races. So love the tire clearance, and overall, like I felt like it had like a good little bit of like get up and go. Like it didn't feel super sluggish when I was riding it at all.
That was actually my only complaint about this bike, is that it doesn't have the super like racy feeling of like my Crux that I had before this. And I don't know if it's just down to this being like 2 to 3 pounds heavier, or maybe like 3 to 4 pounds heavier than my Crux. And I did ride this with like the S-Works Pathfinder or whatever that are like way lighter than mountain bike tires, because I assumed mountain bike tires make it feel slower. So I rode it a lot with those tires and it still just didn't have like the snap. But besides that, this bike is awesome.
Yeah, and I feel like I'm comparing this bike in my head, in like my world, a lot to the Allied Able and the Cervelo Sparrow. Those have been my two main points of comparison for this bike. And so I think when comparing it to either one of those, like it definitely feels faster.
The Aspero's probably the same weight, I think.
So whenever I was riding the bike, I honestly felt the same as Trey, but not in a bad way. Like, I don't necessarily think the Mog, in my eyes, is kind of, I've talked about this in a recent video where, like, I have, like, a baseline opinion of what a gravel bike should be. And I think this one definitely hits all of that criteria. It doesn't excel at anything other than tire clearance, but that's just because of other brands not doing a good job. But it really is useful in almost any situation.
Probably the best, like, all around do everything gravel bike, because you can race it, obviously.
And it's reasonably fast. It's
it
just
is
not
fast.
as fast as other bikes.
It's like so marginal. Me saying it doesn't have like the snappiness or whatever of the Crux, but it's like, it's so marginal. But this bike, you can put mountain bike tires on it and fenders and all of that stuff and go do like adventure graveling, where like other bikes you cannot do adventure graveling stuff because you can't fit mountain bike tires and you can't put fenders and bike panniers and all that jazz on.
I want to talk about the geometry of this bike. I think whenever you look at Enve's geometries in general, like, you're gonna see taller stack heights. And I think that's intentional for who the customer for this bike is. It looks cool to slam your bike, and you can slam this bike and still it's not super short. And ultimately, actually, that's why I stopped using it, because I was unable to achieve a fit on this size 56 that actually worked for me. And
It's too big for you almost.
it's too big
in a
for
way.
me. Yeah.
As most people on YouTube know, I usually ride 58s and I usually don't slam them. Like, my stack's high enough that I ride a bigger bike and run spacers. This is a 56. There's no spacers. And in reality, it's still too tall for me. So like, the stack is like really tall.
I don't remember exactly what it is. I'll look it up really quick. I think it's cool to, I'm like holding the mic, like.
Yeah.
I think from talking to customers who've been riding this bike, namely my dad, it's like one of his favorite bikes he's ever ridden. He's able to grab that super tall stack stem to show everybody. My dad has a Mog set up
big boy
with the tall one, and it's like he's got a freaking 48 wide handlebar on the thing, and like he just loves it. You know, a lot of like tall adventure bike kind of things aren't necessarily the coolest looking aero looking bikes on the market, and this one is. So you can have both features. You can have a really cool looking cockpit that's like very premium, the bike's very premium throughout. Being that premium with the bike doesn't mean that your fit has to be compromised like it does on a lot of other bikes that have integrated cockpits like this. And most of the people that have been buying Enve bikes from us are ordering it with this taller stem.
Tall boy.
And I think that's just really a great product design.
They need to make this, but in reverse.
I've asked
We need
them
our
for that.
handlebars here.
I really wish that they would make a low one, and I've told them this, and I hope that they're looking into that, because I would love to like try out the Enve Fray, but I just know I can't make it fit me.
That one's even worse than this.
It's taller than this bike.
It's taller than a gravel bike, which
Yeah.
doesn't make sense. But
Well, it makes sense like in whenever you start to think about it, because like we're abnormal in the sense that we have very aggressive positions because we race and train a lot, and that's not for everybody.
it's for most people that want to look like they race and train a lot.
Well, and you can do that on this bike without actually
That
being
is
uncomfortable.
true.
That's my entire
is
point.
true.
I didn't ride this bike a whole lot. I probably did 2 or 3 rides on it. Ultimately, my fit not working is, I'm very sensitive to that. Like, I really did like the way it rode. That was never the issue. Is I just couldn't find a comfortable fit on the bike, which is my fault. That's not Enve's fault. Please release a negative degree stem. I think tons of people would want that, and it would make it even easier to buy an Enve bike. Anybody? Okay, so I've actually been asked this a bunch of times. SRAM Red Crank does work on this bike, just so everybody knows.
This is a SRAM road crank, not wide, just regular road with a 48 tooth with plenty of clearance.
It works just
for
fine.
a lot more teeth.
Just a question I've been asked tons of times in Instagram. So
One of my, honestly, one of my main complaints about this bike, it's very size specific. So for those that don't know, I'm 5'3", I ride a 49. My biggest complaint was the toe overlap. It's terrible. It's absolutely terrible on the 49. I know Jesse and Trey didn't have that issue. So I think it is size specific. But there was a point in Mid-South where it was super rutted, and I was trying to maneuver through the ruts, and I almost just wiped out because I couldn't actually turn my wheel because my toes were in the way.
That is a very legit complaint. I had 0 issues with this bike, but I'm on a bike currently that it's the worst. I've never had a problem before, and now that I have it on a bike, it makes the bike unrideable. So if I was in Chase's size range and had that problem, I would get rid of this bike.
It was enough to be annoying. That's probably my biggest complaint about this bike, and it's very size specific. I didn't have issues with like the fit or the height of the bike or anything like that like Jesse and Trey did. I'm not as sensitive to my bike fit as they are, and I typically don't ride in quite as aggressive of a position as these Aero boys here.
If you look here, there's like, this is with big tires too. That's like actually tons of room. I don't know how many people have looked at like the spacing there, but that's like plenty. I don't recall ever hitting my feet on the tire when I'm turning or whatever it may be.
It was every ride for me.
If you take this bike and shrink it down and still have big tires on it, I could see that problem arising.
Yeah, like honestly, the only way to make it better would be to run smaller tires, but why would I do that?
That's
like,
the whole point of the Mogger.
Yeah, like the point of the bike is literally to have big tires, so.
We definitely really like the Mog, and all the people that have bought one from us do too. If you're interested in getting one, definitely hit us up. Email us. We like to order Mogs like via email because we want to make sure when you order it, you get all the fit parts correct and you can pick that all out at the time of purchase. This bike, I think, is my new baseline for what a gravel bike should be. I used to use that old Checkpoint SLR kind of as my baseline of what a gravel bike should be. It does everything well, and it doesn't really excel at one thing, but I definitely commend Enve because this bike's not even new, and it's so forward thinking that it's still one of the only bikes that really has a fully aero integrated cockpit with a giant tire clearance. UDH, this thing had UDH way before any other bike did. This is one of the best. I think Specialized's new storage door with the bearing in it is really nice.
This one's pretty
it's really good.
Easy to use. Like it's just so
I had something good to
quick.
say about it, you know it's good.
It's good. Same thing as the Melee video. This seat post design needs to be changed, but this bike, you can put a different seat post in it, so it's no big deal. And then ultimately, like, it's just a little bit heavier than some of the other options out there.
It's not terrible.
It's not bad, but it's, if we're like splitting hairs on like a negative, finding a negative about this bike is that it isn't the lightest thing you could buy, but.
I think this was just under 20 pounds with mountain bike tires and a 48 tooth
Do you want to
chain
weigh it?
ring and no, I know. Wait, was it 23 something?
Let's weigh it.
Okay. 19.1.
So it's heavy.
That's not terrible though, because it does have mountain bike tires. I think it would be under 18 with like a faster gravel tire, but it is what it is. It's way lighter than a Diverge.
It's way lighter than a lot of gravel bikes. Whenever we're talking about gravel bikes, I think what's more important is the functionality, and the weight to me is a bonus. Like if you have a light bike that also crammed all of the features in, then like that's even better. I can't think of a bike that has more features that are actually usable than this bike, if that makes sense.
Buy one, because they're sick.
Or buy other stuff, because we have a business to run.
At thebicyclestation.com. Bye.
See y'all.